Baby, I hear those blues a calling. It's time for the Frazier on Frasier podcast. What? Stop. Yeah, we're starting. I know it's a surprise.
That's the intro?
It's the intro. You've listened to this podcast.
Adam, don't yell at our first guest. Don't yell at our very first
She comes right out of the gate.
I'm your first?
You are okay. So, hello. It is. I'm your host, Adam Frazier. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Wes Corwin. And today we have a very special guest. It's our first guest here on the Frazier on Frasier podcast. A very dear friend of ours, a very funny comedian from the Austin area. Her name is Lana Knight. And say hi, Lana.
Hi, Lana.
Okay, that's
one of those
classic
bits.
comedy. That's how they're gonna know.
One of them bits you hear about.
One of them
we have a reputation for only bringing the funniest people on here. So
and
you're the first, and you're the so
very, very first.
It's one.
I'm setting
one
the
out,
bar
one
pretty
one.
high. I'm setting the bar pretty high.
You have to.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about an episode of Frasier.
Right.
Lana, do you want to tell us? I think me and Wes have both talked about our personal experiences with Frasier. What would you say your personal experience with Frasier is?
So pretty much the same as like my personal experience with like Friends and other like sitcoms around that time. I was like real little. So I would just, wander into a room, something would be on the TV, and, I'm a kid, so I didn't always have the remote to change it, even if I wanted to.
So you got stuck watching it just by...
Yeah, and also because sometimes nothing else would be on, so, like, you're flipping through the stations, you're doing the usual... I had a circuit, I would do Cartoon Network... I would start with Nickelodeon, then Disney Channel, then Cartoon Network. 36, 40, 58. Those were the channel numbers. I still remember them.
You Cartoon Network last?
Well, yeah, because Nickelodeon was channel 36, Disney Channel was channel 40, and Cartoon Network was channel 58.
Okay.
I will say I had the same order for the same reason, because on my TV, Nickelodeon was 28, Disney was 29, Cartoon Network was 31. Grouped together very closely. Yeah.
Okay, like I know exactly what you guys are talking about, but the fact that you guys actually still remember the channel numbers freaks me the hell out.
Yeah, and comedies. So mine wasn't organized like by kids because it sounds like that's how yours was. Mine, I think, was organized by corporation because it was like Cartoon Network, Comedy Central, all those like Viacom or not Viacom. You know what I'm talking about? Whatever fucking company that's not Disney, ABC.
So I mean, have you seen much of Frasier outside of this podcast, or is this kind of you're kind of coming into this somewhat fresh, aren't you?
Yeah, so like I just I have vivid memories of being like, oh, it's just that boring show for like working adults. I thought that like when I was younger, I just didn't get it because I wasn't an older like working adult, kind of like The Office. My mom loved The Office, but I was like it always felt like I was missing something, where like Family Guy, I knew that I hated it. I didn't think it was one of those things where I needed to get older. But so Frasier, I was kind of disappointed to find out I also dislike as an adult. So
well, you were very eager to be on this podcast. I mean, you pretty much begged me, as I
I don't remember it like that.
How do you remember it?
I don't.
Okay. Well, there you go.
No, but we do thank you for being on and being our first guest, and we hope to have more guests on the podcast. Maybe just I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like that.
We'll try and find some way to get like Kelsey Grammer on here and just make fun of him the entire time.
I would love to roast Kelsey Grammer.
I know. I would too. What?
I feel like
it would get a little mean.
Oh no, of course, naturally.
He might not do the show after this episode. Actually,
we can't sell ourselves any differently. I mean,
no.
I feel like if we at least present ourselves this way, at least we come off as genuine.
Yeah, but you guys like Frasier, unironically, right?
I mean, to a certain degree, yeah. I mean, I don't think you can watch any like every episode of a television show would not walk away with it with some positive, feelings about it.
That's true. I tried to do something like this for Seinfeld, and when I started watching it, realized that I don't like Seinfeld as an adult, so that was weird.
Yeah, I mean, getting into it, you have to find something that you'll at least tolerate, you'll watch. So for me, that was Frasier. And then gradually over time, watching it more and more, just repeat episodes and stuff like that, it grew on me. I mean, I still think there are aspects of it that are worth making fun of. Hence this podcast. So, very, very happy to be doing this. And I guess we should start off by talking about the plot of this episode, just sort of a general synopsis. Why don't you give that to us, Lana? How explain this episode to us? Break it down.
Yeah, let me give you a little play-by-play here. So it starts off with I guess it's a radio show. So someone calls into the radio show.
Right.
Frasier gives them advice, and then they don't like the advice. So then his co-host gives the person advice, and the person appreciates the advice. Frasier gets jealous because his masculinity was insulted by his female coworker.
Roz.
She then proceeds to tell him his own schedule because he's an incompetent man-child who, for some reason, doesn't know his own schedule. And then even then he's like not satisfied with that, which is like, she's doing you a favor, buddy. Anyway, so I'm not sure what the segue was, but then his dad and his brother are in a cab. It feels vaguely racist. And then the cab driver goes into labor.
Okay, so this is getting the heart of the episode.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned before, the episode we're doing is season 2, episode 4, Flower Child. Right.
Yeah. Probably should have said that up top.
Well, no, I know, but
right.
I didn't, and that's why I'm doing it now.
You got to lead the guest. You got to lead the guest.
I mean, this is new for all of us. We're not used to having guests on. I'm used to talking to Wes.
Right.
So, I mean, but yeah, the episode we're talking about, season 2, episode 4, it's called Flower Child. And it involves Niles experimenting with the concept of being a father. He raises a flower child, a sack of flour as if it was his child, and learns whether or not he's cut out to be a father.
I'm not sure. We'll get it. I know we cut off the episode summary about 1/5 of the way through getting through the episode.
Second scene.
We were in the second. We were about 3 minutes deep.
Well, I want to give a general overview
3
first.
minutes, but okay. I would like to say I Googled around. I don't know if this is. I believe this is one of the first flour sack episodes. And we have seen.
What do you mean one of the first? There's more?
Oh, there's like the Danny Phantom flour sack episode.
You mean flour sacks across pop culture. I thought you meant Frasier's
as like a trope.
No.
Okay,
like
the trope is,
across television writing. This is one of the first. There was also a egg-sitting flour sack episode in Cheers 2 years before, but I think
every Disney classic sitcom had one. It was My school had robot babies.
I've heard most of it is replaced by robot babies. When you look up the trope on TV tropes, it says the idea of raising a flour sack has become antiquated because now there are robot babies.
Yeah.
But
no.
how did taking care of flour sacks come about to begin with? The episode doesn't delve into that.
It does. No. Frasier just says.
Did you want a history lesson? Because I feel like
I kind of do.
Asked us to research this before the show started.
Yes. Adam, you're just demanding things without any prep.
No, I'm just saying, like, under what circumstances is raising a sack of flour, like, who came up with that?
This is why I am because I have the Google.
He's got the lightning fingers.
I got it. A 1986 story in the Philadelphia Inquirer about the organization Education for Parenting appears to be the idea's first media reference. It was a Philadelphia-based nonprofit that used egg babies at local schools to teach kids compassion and responsibility. And now the same organization, today it's called Educating Communities for Parenting, brings actual infants, and the assignment is robot babies. But at the time, 1986, they started to do eggs and such.
And eggs seems almost more common. I feel like I've seen that in more places and more in more media representations.
Yeah,
sure.
Because an egg, it's like if you fuck up, you fuck up.
Right.
But we should talk about so the episode follows Niles on this little adventure he's having with the child, the flour sack baby.
Well, okay, and sorry. I
we
thought
should
the
talk
Niles
about
thing was the B plot. I thought the main plot was Frazier breaks into a hospitalized man's hospital room to steal his get well card.
For me, I mean, for me, the A plot is sort of the stronger of the two stories. Like the things that the writers had in mind for being
both
sort
stories
of like
are very
the focal point. Well, they don't have to be super strong. I mean, it's not like the situational comedy. You can't. It doesn't have to be earth shattering stuff. But I'm just saying it whatever like sort of the plot that has sort of the most heart to it, I think, is sort of the automatic A plot. And then the B plot is sort of a more maybe played for laughs, I suppose, I think is the idea. But we'll talk about that plot. I want to talk about the inciting incident of the episode where they get in a cab, and this is what sort of prompts Niles to go on this journey of fatherly self-discovery.
Right.
So, who wants to talk about that?
Yeah. So, okay, sorry, hang on. So they get in this cab, right? And
right.
Like I said, immediately it's like weird. It's like they're just like complaining about their lives, which like I don't know, just feels very like tone deaf and shitty.
It's first world problems.
Yeah, very first world problems. And immediately I was like, I don't want to listen to 3 old white men complain about their lives. And then the dad demands that their black taxi driver tell them a joke. And then through a pun, she lets them know that she's going into labor.
It was such an odd way that they brought it up.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was a pun, but yeah. Go ahead.
She asked them if
she
if
set
you've
it up
ever
like
heard
an anecdote. He
right.
was like, "Do you have any fun like cab stories? We don't want to talk to each other." And she was like, "Have you heard the one about the lady who gave birth in a cab?" And they were like, "That's so funny." And she was like, "Shut up, it's happening." And then she started to give birth in the cab. Her water broke and all that.
So yeah, it's Frazier, Niles, and Martin all trying to help a woman give birth in a cab.
Failing miserably. You're telling me three grown-ass men can't deliver a baby.
Well,
one of them is a literal doctor.
Martin actually made the most progress out of all. I think he was the most helpful.
Okay, and so here's the thing, though. But the entire time he was doing it, he was bragging about how he used to be a cop, and all cops are bastards, and I don't think that they should be romanticizing the police like that.
Well,
that's not
that
the
is
show for that. No, Martin is frequently treated as such. Yeah.
No, Martin is an ex-cop.
The show is funded by the CIA.
I mean,
that's the only way it could have gotten 2 seasons. There's no way that this wasn't just
cop
propaganda.
It got 11 seasons long.
11 seasons. Nah, this shit's funded by the government. This is propaganda. this is propaganda.
It had nothing to do with the fact that it was a spinoff of a massively popular sitcom.
No,
I'm so glad you brought that up. This seems like an opportune time to bring this up. This is actually, we are in season 2, episode 4 of Frasier, and the actress playing the cab driver is Charlene Woodard, who you might know from her appearances in Twister,
Pose,
The Crucible, Unbreakable, Glass, frequent TV guest appearance, Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles. The point is, she's a very good actress. She is a Tony Award-winning playwright, and she's also the first black person to appear in Frasier after like 26 episodes.
Is that confirmed though?
Like in the entire series, not even like as a background character that Fraser's an asshole to.
Listen.
I haven't gone back through and watched every episode, but I'm like 99% sure, like 100% sure this is the first time a black person has had a speaking part on the show. I don't know if there's ever been, I'm sure there's been like somebody in Cafe Nervosa sitting in the way back. But I believe this is the first time we've seen a black person with a speaking part in the show. Now, that led me, Adam brought up the fact this was a very successful spinoff of Cheers, which was already a successful show. Cheers is famous for not having black people in the bar. The first season had 37 background actors, one of which was black in only one episode. Everyone else had 0. Every other episode, all the characters were white. In the 83 episode, they had 58 freelance background actors, 3 of which were... it's just, the stats aren't good. The stats aren't great.
I will say
there was
yes.
There was a recurring character in a later season in Cheers that was a black man, and his character role was he would steal things from the bar. So that's how we're looking so far. I just want to put that out there, and let's move on.
I mean, and that's not even getting into Ted Danson, but
can I ask a quick question?
Please.
What year does this take place in?
1994, I want to say.
1994. Okay. This was out there. I have the episode link up now. The the air date was October 11th, 94. Yes.
Okay, so before weed was legalized in Seattle. Okay.
Right. No, it's Seattle.
Do you think that correlates?
Yeah, no, he's just such an asshole. I just feel like if anyone on the show smoked, that would like just it just there.
I will say one of my I will say, and I don't want to spoil too much, but one of my favorite episodes of this show does involve one of the characters getting stoned.
Nice. Okay. That is fun. Invite me back on for that episode.
Well, I mean, we'd love to have you on. It's a Christmas episode, so it'll be fun for everybody.
Sounds fun.
We'll all get stoned and we'll talk about the Christmas episode of Frasier where they get stoned. Yeah, it's 1994. It's not. I mean, we have much different standards, a lot societal standards as to.
I would like to put in context because I feel like this is important. The last episode we talked about, season 2, episode 3, won a GLAAD representation award because they had a gay character, which was very cool in '94, and they had a gay character before they had a black character, and that's just interesting. I just want to put that out there. I don't think this episode is going to win any awards.
This episode
for
of Frasier.
Representation. Yeah.
Well, okay. So, do we want to talk more about this character?
Yeah, I would like to talk about how Niles passed out, or was talking about how he passed out in medical school and like had absolutely no training on how to deliver a baby. How the fuck did he graduate? This is why men shouldn't be doctors.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's possible to graduate. I mean, because he's a psychiatrist, right? So, like, how?
Oh wait, Niles is a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Niles and Frazier are both psychiatrists.
They're psychiatrist brothers.
Right.
Oh, I thought because he was.
They're like the Property Brothers, but for brains.
Okay, because the way they were both talking about it seemed like Niles was like a medical doctor, because Frazier said he had no experience at all. So Frazier didn't even go to the class.
No. Well, if to get into the core of the episode, the main conflict between Niles and Frasier is Niles is a psychiatrist for, I think, wealthy people, but like privately, and Frasier's like a radio personality psychiatrist, and Niles frequently picks at him because he's TV entertainment. He's turning it into the industry, which has a certain ethics code, into celebrity BS. This is sort of the first glimpse into
Dr.
like
Phil.
the 2000s. Yeah, the 2000s advent where all of a sudden doctors are like, Dr. Oz and
okay.
Do you want to?
Dr. Phil is actually funny.
Do you want to come back on when we do the Dr. Phil episode of Frasier?
There's a Dr. Phil episode of Frasier.
I don't want to spoil too much. But...
Yes, I will be a frequent collaborator on your podcast.
Okay, great. We got one locked in, folks.
Yeah.
You heard it here. We've got it recorded, and now it's legally binding.
I would love to talk about how much I hate Frasier. Yes.
So this woman gives birth in the cab. And
Arlene, we should say
Arlene. Yes, her name is Arlene. Okay. They do name her.
Yeah.
Which doesn't matter because Frasier doesn't remember anyone's name.
Well, he doesn't remember the name of the guy who. Wait, does he remember the name of the guy who has the kidney problems that he has to sign the card for?
No, that's like the running joke throughout the thing is that he doesn't care about anyone but himself.
I can cover that very quickly. Clarence walks up and he says the most awkward line where he's like, Frasier leaves the patient and he throws the card. No, the liner comes down. And then Clarence walks around the corner with his wife, and it's like, Dr. Crane, it's me, Clarence. You know how people introduce themselves. They say, even if you can see each other very clearly, you announce yourself and state your name for convenience, because the other person knows you.
That's how we greet each other, Wes.
I do. That's true. We do that.
But so he forgets his name.
Right. Well, we don't know if he forgot it, but Clarence introduced himself very conveniently by shouting his name.
Yeah, I don't think he would have gotten it otherwice, because he didn't remember where he worked either. So apparently it was in some place that Frasier passed by every day. He's just such a douchebag.
Well, you have to remember this is a sitcom, and sitcom characters can have. Don't always have to have admirable traits. They can have flaws.
Yeah, no, they can have flaws, but I feel like that they romanticize his flaws by making him the main character. It's like in Rick and Morty, Jerry gets dunked on by the family the whole time, whereas Frasier, it's everyone's just it's like if Frasier is if you had a show with 3 Jerrys.
Wow. I think what.
And then no one to tell them that they're wrong.
Right. Well, I mean, Frasier does get he does get called out plenty of times for being snobby and kind of fussy and very sort of set in his ways and the way he is. I mean, I think we can say that, right, Wes, having seen the episodes.
Frasier is frequently mocked for his stuff. And it's tough. The group of people around him also have a tendency to reaffirm most of what he does. He has people around him that critique him, but he never, despite the fact that he is shrouded in this pageantry, I don't know if he ever is fully confronted with his stuff.
No one completely. Yeah, no one
He gets a light. He'll frequently get a light dusting, but he never gets a full on blast.
Yeah, and then so I feel in this episode there were a couple times where it was when what's her name, Daphne Roz?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Well, Daphne is the housekeeper, the
she's
psychic
housekeeper.
She's a housekeeper /
she's
medical care worker.
Yeah.
So
physical therapist for Martin because he got shot in the hip and needs in-house physical therapy, live-in physical therapy.
Oh, I thought she was Frasier's girlfriend.
No. Frasier doesn't have a girlfriend. That's so he can have relationships with multiple women every season.
Like the Jason Alexander of Frasier is the Jason Alexander of Frasier.
I don't
Niles
understand
on
that
the other
reference.
Niles
That's a
on the other
Seinfeld reference.
yeah. Yeah, Jason Alexander's is from Seinfeld, Lana. You wouldn't have done well doing a Seinfeld podcast.
No, I wouldn't have. No.
So, but Niles on the other hand, and I don't know if this is something, and this is kind of turning into a good refresher of Frasier for those of you who are still unclear as to the characters
If you
that
were
we're
like,
talking about.
hey, I'm gonna start. I've never seen an episode of Frasier. I'm gonna start on this podcast, season 2, episode 4. This is the way to get it. We are gonna cover some concepts, some core concepts.
I will probably only send this episode and not the entire podcast to people. So yes,
that's fair. That's fair.
So the thing that you may not pick up on if you're new to watching this, like you are, Lana. I don't know if you picked up on this or not. You probably did, but Niles is married. He is in a relationship.
Yeah, no, and Frasier fucking hates his wife,
well,
which is the most
does.
toxic. Like, how are you both psychiatrists and like have the most unhealthy relationship in regards to your sibling's partner? Like,
it's ironic. It's meant to be. I mean, these are professional psychiatric professionals, and yet their lives and their relationships are kind of disastrous. And I think that's part of the humor.
Okay, so
but if it were real life, it would be horrifying.
Yeah, and so I guess let me give you my mindset here. I didn't laugh a single time in the entire episode. I had a light chuckle once when the dad said no about flipping the flour sack, and that was 16 minutes into the episode.
That was a very good line delivery by by John Mahoney. But go on.
No, that was it.
That was it? Okay.
I just didn't think it was... Yep. Like, okay. Fine. Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like sometime when, like, Daphne or... God, what was that freaking name?
It's Roz.
Daphne and Roz, like, when they would, like, say something, like, when she was, like, talking about how he, like, fucked up the card and stuff, like, it almost made it seem like, I don't know, like, it was like she was it was funny that she was, like, chastising him, but it's like, I don't know, it's weird. Just the tone was real weird for me. Didn't like the vibes Frasier was putting out.
Well, because immediately before that, I think they'd kind of had a heated moment on air where Frasier was giving advice to someone. It was the guest of the episode, Amy Madigan. She was in a whole bunch of movies that I definitely know off the top of my head. Field of Dreams,
Uncle Buck.
Yeah.
Gone Baby Gone.
So lot of it's a good
Married
actor.
to Ed Harris, who you might know from movies.
So she's the guest on Frasier's Frasier's radio show, right. Frasier's podcast.
It's basically
right, and he's giving her advice. And at the same time he's giving advice, Roz is in the other part, the other part of this recording booth, just sort of shaking her head like at everything that Frasier says. So it gets to the point where Frasier says, "Oh, well, maybe Roz would like to talk about this because she so clearly knows what because she's not a doctor. So let's hear her."
She's
opinion.
not?
I mean, yeah, that's basically because he basically says, let's see what my non-PhD holding producer has to say, which is a pretty...
Wait, she's the producer?
She's the producer of Frasier's show. She also does like the soundboard, and she screens calls. She's kind of...
Why does she let him disrespect her like that?
Well, because she gets in a few good jabs on herself.
They have a catty back and forth relationship. You know, right. You know how your workplace is, and sometimes you say mean things to your coworkers. It's like that.
No,
there are never any consequences.
There's never a single.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is insane.
This sitcom is exactly like real life, Lana. What is your problem?
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there's a huge power about it. It's like if she's the producer, like it's not adding up.
Well, so I think at one point Frasier, I don't know if he was being serious or not, but Frasier fired her a couple episodes ago, or like.
How can he fire the producer?
Well, she did something. I think she it was the episode where Lilith came back, and it was the episode where Lilith calls in and Frasier doesn't want to talk to her. Lilith is Frasier's ex-wife, by the way. She's mentioned in this episode. But Lilith calls in. Frasier doesn't want to talk to her. Roz wants Frasier to talk to her on air because she knows that Frasier doesn't want to talk to her. So when she puts her on air to talk to Frasier holds up a sign to Roz's window that says "You're fired," and then Roz already has a sign already made and holds it up and says "You can't, I'm union," or something like that. So that's just an example. Like I think. I don't think either of them could really do much to each other's career, so they're kind of on equal footing. Okay. I mean, for the purposes of making jokes and an audience laughing, they're kind of equally balanced in terms of power.
Okay.
Although, yes, one technically is the boss of one another, and when that card does get played, Roz doesn't tend to react well to it, so... even in those situations, she can be pretty mean to Frasier.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so my next thing that I thought was weird was the housekeeper when they came home, like I guess she had like just taken a shower, so she was like in a towel. And it's like she heard them coming and like she grabbed a robe, but then she just stood there and like she had time to run to another room. I don't know. It was just like an awkwardly long amount of time. The timing was just off.
To explain it, to elaborate. So it's the scene after they deliver the baby, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it cuts to Frasier's apartment, and it looks empty, and we hear Daphne calling from the other room, asking if anybody's there, I believe is what she said. And when no one answers, she runs out in a towel to grab some clothing, because apparently, right, she was taking a shower, didn't have like anything to change into after she got out of the shower. So she's just in there with a towel, and she of course, at that moment, Frazier, Niles, Martin, they all walk in, and Daphne makes them all turn around.
Yeah.
And there's the moment where they all turn around, and Niles, who's in the center, he turns around, but he doesn't stop. So he does a 360, and he just starts staring at Daphne again while she's dressing, which is both creepy and very on par for Niles' behavior.
Not even close to the creepiest thing he's done in the show so far.
Yikes.
Like when he recorded Daphne sleeping in that post-episode bit. Yeah, no, it's weird. Let's keep going.
So that was my thing though. Is like go to a different room. I don't know. Is she a live-in housekeeper? Like
Yes, she has
why weren't her clothes in her closet? Why, there's a lot.
I think she was doing laundry. I think she was doing laundry because don't we see like laundry baskets out in
I don't remember.
It sounds like a thing.
Maybe
the writers needed a joke about Niles being attracted to Daphne.
Okay,
right.
So they didn't. They thought the best way of doing that was like, what if Niles looked at Daphne while she was getting dressed, and that's how this scene came to be. And it basically is just a stepping stone to them discussing, the delivery, the baby being born,
the taxi cab,
right? And Niall sort of discovering that he has this sort of desire to test whether or not he's ready to be a father.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I believe it's Frazier is the one who suggests it to him, or he just brings up the idea that kids in school. They take care of flour sack childs, apparently unaware that they've been replaced by robots.
Yes, right. And so then here's what one thing that stood out to me that I wrote down here is that I thought it was weird that Niles was like, I think I'm like I don't know if I'm old enough to be a father, but like they both look like 40, so I was like, how old is he? Because it's like, I don't know. Like,
Frasier in the show is, I believe we've said 34. I believe Niles is his younger brother, but I think Niles is like mid-30s. He's the younger brother. I think Frasier is mid-30s. I think Niles is mid-30s.
They're both in their mid to late 30s. Although I'm sure both actors were older when they played the parts.
Right. Okay.
But
so here's my second thing now. If he's that young, he's just kind of out of medical school. Yes, he's doing private practice psychiatry, but with like medical school debt now, and then you're gonna have to try like your living expenses in Seattle. Like, how are you gonna have a kid like that?
That's the other thing, right?
If I may,
please,
this
Wes,
is
explain.
The 90s. Student debt was not as rampant of a problem. You could go to McDonald's and pay off a college degree. These people are living dream lives with no problems. Going back and watching any 90s... First of all, like, and it's a thing that's been covered in other articles, so I won't go into it too deep, but, like, Homer Simpson used to be the go-to, like, oh, what a miserable life, but he has a cozy job at a nuclear plant where he never gets fired. It's miraculous. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I understand your point. If you rebooted Frasier in 2020, you would have to confront all of these problems. This was the 90s. Both of these men are exorbitantly wealthy and will be for the rest of their lives.
Well, and it's explained, and Niles' wealth comes from Maris.
Maris is wealthy, independent. Like
she's like a sugar
Maris,
mama.
the heiress, but but also Niles is fine.
It's been somewhat of a question. It's a question that's been raised on the show as to whether or not Niles married Maris for the money. Because it's sort of they do it as a reoccurring joke, but they don't have the strongest of marriages. Because Maris is an impossibly frail, very rigid woman who doesn't do things ever, and I don't even think wants to have children. I don't even think she could have children, is something that they've said at some point.
Is she like super old, or
well, she's older than Niles. I don't know. I think they say it in the first episode, but I don't know how she's slightly older than Niles. But she's just very
her the entire episode. You just
we don't see her in the entire series, Lana. She's a completely invisible character.
I would like to offer a small correction. Frasier is apparently 40 at the start of the show. 41 in season 2. Niles is 36.
Okay.
Sorry, let me just pull something up here because I just Googled Niles' wife and they found the picture. So
no, put that away. That is we are getting into spoiler territory, Lana.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But if you Google Maris Crane fan art,
that'll get you a more accurate.
Crane. Oh, this isn't the same person then.
Yeah, Never mind. That's another person who we have yet to meet on the show. So,
wait, Wes, can you screen share the fan art?
Sure, I can. Then I believe this is non-canonical, but I will.
No, of course not. It's something a Frasier fan made. Because we do get plenty of descriptions of Maris throughout the episodes.
Wait, are you on like DeviantArt or like Rule 34?
I would not Rule 34 the podcast. I would clear it with everybody before I Rule 34.
Hey, is it cool if I Rule 34 Frasier right now?
So this is
a family Christian podcast, and I would appreciate it all if you all just sort of calm down with the Rule 34 talk.
I'm pretty sure you can say Rule 34 on YouTube.
I'm pretty sure they will ban you for it.
One of the 7 words you can't say on podcasts is rule and 34. Those are 2 of the words you can't say.
What about Rule 43?
Ooh. I don't know rule.
I don't know which one that is either.
I know Rule 63 is the gender swap rule. Is there an episode where Frasier turns like Cake and Fiona, but Frasier is something else?
That would be great. Who would you cast as female Frasier? Is the question.
Probably Julianne.
Who is the Julianne Hough?
Am I thinking of the right person when I say Julianne? Yeah, No, sorry, Julianne Moore. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're saying Julianne Moore is the female equivalent of Kelsey Grammer, then?
I'm going with my gut on this one.
Okay. So yeah, is there anything else we want to talk about in this episode other than?
Yeah. I have. We're only halfway through my notes.
Oh Jesus. We might have to speed things up then.
Okay, yeah, it's just rapid fire. Okay, so then when they're going to get the sack of flour, Niles pulls out a thing of sugar at first, and I guess that was supposed to be a joke, but literally what would the difference between carrying around a sack of flour and sugar be?
I would agree. I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Unless Frasier just really needed his sugar and didn't want to give it to Niles.
Yeah. Niles just decides to take his brother's stuff, which is fun.
He's rich.
If he took the sack of flour, he'd be devoured by ants. Or the sack of sugar, he'd be devoured by ants.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, don't want to ant bait baby. Oh, there's one. Oh, sorry, that was real odd. There's one point where he calls like the people he calls them commoners, and that just felt really elitist.
Well, Niles and Frasier are both deeply elitist.
They are.
They're absolutely, and they run into it with Martin all the time. Where anytime Martin wants to go to a fun restaurant, they're like, "Ugh, you can't make reservations there," and it's a whole thing. They're very prissy. They absolutely believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate them. Okay, and then I think this is the next scene, which I think there was supposed to be like a commercial break or something. It felt like a weird cut.
Right.
Because he Oh, wait, no, I think it's because the coffee shop scene was just so uninteresting. I didn't take any notes on it.
Yep.
So then the gag in the scene where right, so this is where Frasier finds out he has to break into the hospital to get the card.
Right.
So then he does that apparently over the.
I think we need to set
break.
that up a little bit more for the audience though, because we mentioned the card in this episode is the B plot.
You were the one that told me to speed up.
Well, I know, but we also have to maintain the funny levels. Okay. So we gotta slow down to talk about some of this stuff too.
I just figured you would edit it.
Well, I mean, I'm not that great at editing. So, but yeah, so I'll just briefly say, so the whole thing with Frasier and the card and the guy with the kidneys is that Roz asks him to sign a card at the beginning of the episode. He thinks it's a birthday card, signs it. He says like, "Oh, you're not getting older. You're just getting closer to death." And it turns out the guy was like dying he had
a kidney problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He was Frasier was misled because they got him a large cartoon bunny.
Yes, which is a weird thing.
That plays a little tune.
Yeah, weird thing to get.
Yeah, I mean, did they not have like any giant kidney cards?
Yeah.
Well, there's something tasteful with flowers. I don't know, because it's like it's a grown man. I don't know. It's like
I feel like
not
there are
to
cards
do
that
gender
say
stereotyping, but it was the 90s.
There are cards that say "Get well soon" that I don't think look like a giant bunny.
Yeah, there's plenty of them.
Right. The premise of the episode, in the premise of that story, it is like Frasier probably could have and should have glanced at the other people and what they had written. When I get a work card, I make sure I'm not like the 20th person that said happy birthday. I'll usually say something like, "Hey, name."
Because you're not a psychopath.
Because I'm not yeah.
Well, in Frasier, he thinks of himself as the resident wit at KACL. So
he's the one that's bringing the clever to the table. So
right.
he's like, I have to come up with something pretty good.
I have to remind this guy he's gonna die.
Right.
Because I'm a psychiatrist. Okay.
Yeah.
So he has to get the card back. Is the point? Right. He wrote something bad in the card. He has to sneak into
He buys an identical bunny card and then he steals the card and then he takes it back to his home. And then he has a second card that he painstakingly recrafts every signature onto.
He made Daphne help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. She got paid extra for that.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. She got paid what they always pay her.
Got paid the same amount. And then he takes up to this point, the heist has gone perfectly. Every aspect very well. So he gets the card. Niles gives him a ride, I believe. They established that in the first act. Frazier and Martin and Niles are taking a cab because their car is in the shop, which is why he needs Niles to give him a ride to the hospital. He pops into the room where he stole the card from originally. Tries to very carefully. I actually don't know. Like he wanted to hang the card on the wire above the patient.
It was super
right. There's like a clothesline above the bed where the guy is resting, and it's got all of his cards that he's received from his family and friends hanging from it. So Frazier tries to place it gently on that little piece of string, and then it just
it's a very big card. So the whole clothesline gives out. And it lands on the patient, and it starts blaring the little chirpy tune. And Frazier goes to cut out. He enters back into the hallway, and there's Clarence. And he says, Dr. Crane, it's me, Claire. You know how you greet people. You shout your name as loud as you can.
Okay, wait, hang on. We skipped over something super important. The scene with the card. There was, because Niles came in and did some flour sack relief humor. Right. And there's a scene where the dog starts tearing apart the flour sack. And I just wanted to say that I think if Dan Harmon or Shane Dawson directed the episode, then the dog would have probably been humping the flour sack, and then that might have been the only other redeeming funny moment of the whole episode.
Well, see, Eddie was recently neutered, so I think that's why.
That is canonical.
Damn.
We do... There is nothing with a better sense of continuity than the status of that dog's penis. Like you can't cut it off in this episode and then have him humping in this episode. He is a neutered dog.
Damn. Okay, I was not up on that Frasier canon. Thank you for letting me know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And then also they were trying to make the thing about Niles coming to grips with like not being ready to be a father emotional, and it's like, yeah, he's a human fuck up. Like he's not ready to be a father.
I think the advice that Frazier gives is pretty good advice to give to somebody who's maybe going through a crisis like that. And I think this is part of the reason why I like Frazier as a character is that yes, for all of his flaws, he can be kind of a jerk sometimes, but he's also capable of like, dealing out like really sound advice to people who need it. And I think this is a good example of that.
I'd like to disagree, because one of the things Frazier advises him is to trust himself. And I would like to say that when it comes to parenting, don't trust yourself, trust medical professionals. Well, he should not trust himself. He should trust maybe the mother of the children, medical professional, but like he fucked up a sack of flour. Like at first I was like, this experiment, it's not going to be representative of how you take care of a kid. This is silly. But if you fuck up a bag of flour that bad, because he dropped it in a pool of water and then set it next to a fireplace. Like, first of all, it's flour. So at that point, like now you're going to have like a weird dough, yeasty, putty thing.
In Niles' defense, had it been a real child, it would have started crying before it burst into flames.
Not if it was drowning in the pool.
He was drying him off.
He was drying him off.
He would have just made bread. He almost made bread. Yeah.
I don't know if you can ask Maris for... Like, you have to talk through a lot of layers of coats. She's frequently trapped under coats, is the thing we've established.
But
so when they go to parties, she will lock herself in a room that is frequently where people leave their coats. And this happened in multiple episodes.
I think it happened. Did it happen in multiple episodes?
Got trapped under a sea of coats. I think it happened in 2 episodes. No matter what, it happened in 1 episode, which makes for a bizarre piece of continuity.
Wes is...
We never see Maris, and I assume it's because the most recent thing that happened to her just before the episode started, and we watch it, is that she became trapped again under coats.
This is just a thing that Wes has going on. This is just something that he tells himself before he watches every episode, just to add to his enjoyment.
Otherwise, the only other continuity bit that I have is it's a Scientology situation, and Maris is dead, and Niles hasn't told anybody. So excuse me if I prefer to think. Excuse me if I'd prefer to have in my headcanon that she's trapped under coats.
Well,
nobody has ever asked her whereabouts. We've never. It's been 72 hours since she's been seen many years ago, which means she's presumed dead. But I'd prefer to think she's under coats. Excuse me if I'm an optimist.
So, Niles, I don't know what started this conversation about Maris. I've completely forgotten.
So Lana said, shouldn't we ask the mother? And I pointed out, Maris is not a big talker and is also frequently trapped under coats.
And if we're to believe what...
it wouldn't be a great place to deliver a child under all those coats. I don't feel like you could get a good angle.
Not as good as the front of the cab, I guess.
It's true.
But if other characters in the show are to be believed, we also can tell that Maris has no real maternal instincts, I think it's safe to say.
Right.
I think Frasier just hates her. Like, it was just, I don't know. But this is also the only episode I've seen, so it's like, I don't know how.
To be fair, Martin also hates her.
Pretty much everyone she comes in contact hates her.
Maris.
Okay, she might have some issues then.
Right.
Yeah.
No, she's a rich white lady who is she is rude to the help around the house.
She has a
help.
Like she has a number of medical issues, a very weak constitution. She's always leering at the help around the house. Like, we established that there's a pool boy that she'll frequently be eyeing, but like the idea of doing anything gets her a little bit sweaty, and then she starts to faint. Like, the story that we have of Maris based on the narrative Niles presents, she's a horn dog that just doesn't have the circulation necessary to pursue any of her physical desires.
Gross.
I mean, yeah. I think that's one of the...
Look, this is all I have, is trying to put these pieces together on who Maris is. This is all I have.
Wow. Okay. So, the hospital, Clarence is like, "Hey, it's me, Clarence."
It's me, Clarence. You know how people introduce themselves.
Yeah, and then Frasier, so Clarence mentions that, like, he's like so grateful that Frasier came to visit him, and that the other people at the office didn't, and they didn't even send him a card. And Frasier, like, it seems like he's about to, like, fess up to, like, go and give him the card, and then he just doesn't, and then he just takes credit for being the only person who came to visit him, and then it sets him up as the hero, and then the episode just, like, I don't know,
He's a scumbag.
He's the worst person. He's the absolute worst person. And then Niles is staring at the babies like a creep.
Well, I don't know if it's he likes children.
Right. Go on, Adam. What do you got? He has a paternal instinct that we've covered. He is, like, especially after being at the delivery, he said in the taxi cab, he was like, it's something that I think about a lot.
I think
wake
that's
up
Cap.
at night thinking about what it would be like to be a dad. It's something and then Frasier is like, have you talked to Maris about it? And he's like, no, I prefer to, like, have my mind set before she tells me what to think, because that's the relationship they have. I would like to think Niles' looking in that is just the same thing that happens to some, like, oh man, I really want kids. I would love to continue my family line. I would love to have a little. So then the cab driver Arlene comes back into view. I would like to point out we never see a father. We don't imply that she's a single parent, but we also don't not imply that she's just there with her baby. No, apparently she's going out.
Oh no, because remember Frasier started praising her for how brave she was being. Yeah.
So she comes out and she's like, "Hey, it's you guys, Frazier and Niles," and you know how it goes. She lets Niles hold the baby, and he's like, "Oh man, I love this baby. I really want to be a dad." And she immediately points out, "You're holding his legs in a way that's going to hurt him."
You're dangling him upside down by the legs, Niles. Stop it.
You're holding him by the neck upside down, Niles. Give me that baby.
You're suplexing him. Stop.
Stop it, Niles. And then he's like,
"So you don't let random white men hold your baby."
That's one more piece of evidence I shouldn't be a father. And Frasier's like, "You're right. Let's go." But he sticks around and looks longingly through the window.
End credits.
And the things roll. And then we go to the post-credit scene where Niles and Martin and Daphne throw flour at each other, which is an odd thing given the.
They have a flower fight. It's a cute. You know how characters will
burping. She's burping the flour sack, and he goes and laughs at her for taking the care of a flour sack. And then she reaches into the little bowl of flour, throws some in his face, and he takes some, throws it in her face, and then we're done.
It would be appropriate if it was like a romantic comedy.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't know. I think I thought it was like okay. I didn't think it was inappropriate. I thought it was just...
Well, I didn't say it was inappropriate. I'm just saying it's. I mean,
it is the type of thing that you would see, but like in a cute bonding
we could make it
way,
inappropriate,
not like a these characters are about to fuck kind of way.
No, it's just them being friends.
Yeah.
But I think we've talked about everything in the episode, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Well, I guess that means we can wrap this up.
I did find something I wanted to share with you guys.
Is it a piece of trivia or what is it?
Yeah. Are you familiar with the website Frazier.tumblr.com?
I have not checked out Frazier.tumblr.
I'm familiar with Tumblr.
Okay.
So this is like a blog?
Yeah, it's just I don't know if it's like procedurally generated, like or what if it's just someone that's just writing like weird fan fiction. That's like about like a paragraph synopsis of a Frasier episode. It's the finest unproduced episodes. So this one the summary is. And maybe you guys should like end every episode of the podcast like this. I don't know.
Okay.
Martin is glued to the TV for the entirety of the Discovery Channel's Armadillo Week, but falls into a depressed stupor when the event ends. After days of puttering aimlessly around the apartment, he attaches a set of metal bowls and colanders to Eddie with twine and watches him with fascination. Which, side note, when I read this earlier before, because I pulled this up before we started recording, but because I was like, I want to do this. But I didn't think it was very practical, and now I'm like, this could happen given now that I've seen Frasier. And we've talked about you guys have explained more of the background of the goofiness of everything. Like I could see this happening.
It's fun to imagine I think that's one of the special things about Frasier. It's because you can imagine the characters in any scenario and it'd be hilarious. There are like parodies of Frasier like that mash it up with like Akira.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, this one is pretty good. So then it's
completely totally different. Or there's like that I think I know Wes have seen it. I think probably people who are fans of Frasier have seen it. It's the Frasier and Niles as demon hunters. It's a short animation on YouTube.
I do like. Shout out to Worthy Kids, who's been doing some crazy good
like
animations.
Supernatural
Eric Andre stuff.
Is it like the Supernatural Demon Hunters?
They're demon hunters.
Like Dean and Sam from Supernatural parody, or
demons.
Like
they send them to damnation. We'll send you the link after this.
Okay,
I do think we need to start coming up with our own episodes of Frasier to pitch on the podcast. So maybe that'll be something that we do next time we have you online.
Yes,
you can write your own episode of Frasier.
Original
and you can pitch
content.
It to us. Yeah. But we'll quickly preview. we'll quickly preview, before we wrap up here, we'll quickly preview the next episode that we're going to be talking about, which is Season 2, Episode 5, Dukes We Hardly Knew Ye, Frazier and Miles.
Dukes.
Yeah, Dukes is the bar where Martin frequents. So Frazier and Niles are caught in a bind when they discover their successful new investment group is about to tear down Martin's favorite bar, Dukes. So...
Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, it's crazy. Those crazy, wacky sitcom shenanigans. So
them Crane boys are at it again.
So we'll talk about that. Lana, you won't be here, but it will be me and Wes. So we want to thank you again so much.
I support you guys.
Follow, go on Facebook. Like Lana does stuff on Facebook. That's where she puts up Twitch stuff.
Yes.
Various links.
She's the current. She's the world record holder on the first level of Tropico, from what I understand.
No, I'm 5th place. I'm 5th place speedrunner for the first level of Tropico 6. You can also follow me on TikTok and Twitter at Lana Stitches, and same on Twitch. So yeah.
So thank you so much, Lana, for being on the podcast. And this has been the Frazier on Frazier podcast. I'm Adam Frazier. Wes Corwin has also been here.
I was here.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from me. I was here.
All right. And we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. Frazier on Frazier podcast wishes to thank KACL780.net for providing episode transcripts, and Ronald O'Connell for providing our theme song, Frazier MIDI.